Get my chat bar going. All right, everybody. So good to see you all from across the globe. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, middle of the night, wherever you are. It is great to see you for today's 10-minute burst of innovation. So today we're going to tackle the opposite side of innovation. We always talk about like, how do you keep up? How do you catch up, right? How do you move forward in a chaotic market? We're going to approach it a little bit differently today. Today, I want to talk about how you maintain your leadership status, how you continue to innovate to stay ahead. And I've got some examples for you. And I think it's important to highlight the importance of not being able to rest on your laurels. How many of you have seen time and time again businesses or brands that were once leaders in their category set the way for the category to only fizzle out or lose their grounding later, be taken over by competition, which in the beginning sounds like it would never happen. They're the leaders. They created the category half the time, but it almost always happens unless you find a way to continue to innovate. So let me share my screen so we can go through the 3 examples I want to share with you today. So the first example I want to share actually of one that hasn't been doing this recently and is now paying the price. And that is Netflix. And the lesson they teach us is that as a category commoditizes, and it always does, I'm going to walk through this, keep innovating. So let's take this Netflix journey, if you will, and let's talk about this for a second. So Netflix, as you know, really created the streaming category in the way that we know it today. It was the first to do it as a real channel to the customer. And they were the innovators, right? They were streaming. They had high quality streaming as well. So Netflix paves the way. They open up the path. Then the competition starts to come in. HBO, Disney, Hulu. Here's the thing. In the beginning, Netflix was able to keep its leadership status because those other ones didn't have the quality streaming that Netflix did, right? Their technology allowed for a better stream, a better experience than the other ones. But as you know, and you probably are subscribed to a myriad of streaming services. I mean, how many? I think the average is like 5, but those started to catch up to Netflix in terms of quality. So now everybody's streaming well, everybody has options, everybody has the ability to download, like all those things that made Netflix the leader, they started to chip away at. The competition did. Now, here's where the struggle comes and the lesson for us to stay as a leader. Netflix, from the outside looking in, did not continue to innovate. They rested on their success. Now, if you've watched the news or looked at any of the business articles recently, they are losing millions of customers and millions of dollars right now. And the last conversation I heard them talking about was they were going to actually start to do things like maybe have a lower subscription price that included ads. Well, guess what? Hulu started doing that 10 years ago. That's old news. Or maybe instead of being able to free share with the family, the way we do now, where every college kid is on their parents' account, right? If it's from a different IP address, you have to pay. Well, other streaming services have done that. And I would venture to say that that's actually going to hurt Netflix and actually is going to have people go away from them. On top of that, a colleague of mine said it best. Netflix has gone from quality to quantity. It's almost too much. It's like turning on your cable channel, not knowing what to watch. In the meantime, the competition, right, continues to get ahead and ahead and ahead. So what once was a category leader, created the category, is now falling behind. So the lesson for us that if we want to stay industry leaders in whatever industry we're in, is we've got to keep innovating because the category has a curve. You start as the innovation leader, you create the category, but then the category commoditizes. And when the category commoditizes, if you keep playing that way, you have to play the price game. And you and I both know it's impossible to win on the price game. So lesson 1 is as the category commoditizes, and it will, don't let your leadership category go away. So you're suddenly in catch-up mode. Continue to keep your leadership status by continuing to innovate. I would venture to say that if Netflix has continued to innovate, they'd stay ahead, and I hope they find their path to doing that moving forward. Okay, so that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, to keep your innovation leadership status, to stay ahead of the curve, is keep what your customers love, but find new channels to reach them. Oftentimes we think of innovation as blowing up everything that you have, right? Like, let's phoenix this, let's just burn it down to the ground and rise from the ashes. Well, there's a lot of lessons out there of companies who have almost quietly innovated and found new channels to their customers without losing what people love. Here's my favorite example. Baskin Robbins. Love Baskin Robbins, right? Their ice cream. Now, has ice cream done anything in innovation? Not really. Have they done anything super innovative? No. Do people love that they go in and there's all these different flavors? Yes. Do people love ice cream? Most people do. Of course they do. Oddly enough, a little inner secret, I cannot stand ice cream. I don't know why. But Baskin Robbins knows that millions and millions of people in the US love it. So they don't want to change what people know, right? They know they're going to come in and get all these different flavors and get some good quality ice cream. However, if you've noticed recently, what you'll see is they don't have as many solo stores. Instead, they're paired up with other places like Dunkin' Donuts. So sometimes the best way to maintain your leadership isn't about reinventing how you do things. It's actually keeping what people love about you, but finding new channels and new opportunities to reach them. And I would venture to say that now they're like inside that same store as like a Dunkin' Donuts, they're reaching new customers as well, right? The younger ones who maybe are going in for a cup of coffee and then they're like, oh, I'll have some ice cream while I'm here too. Keep what your customers love and find new channels to reach them. A great exercise around this to do is to actually map it out and say, what is it that we provide our customers that they love? What is it that we wow them with? And then how do we deliver that in new and different ways? If you want to keep your leadership status, sometimes the key is to keep the core, but innovate around it, innovate the channels out from the core. Okay, the third one, and this is one of my favorite local examples all across the US, but local to Denver as well. Use your competition to set yourself apart in a new and meaningful way. So, Ace Hardware. If you've ever been to an Ace Hardware, you know they tend to be pretty close, like embedded in the neighborhoods. They're small and they have pretty knowledgeable staff. Here's the story I want to share with you. And they're locally owned, by the way. Here, there was an Ace Hardware store owner that got word that the Home Depot was coming into the neighborhood. Now, I'm not against Home Depot or Lowe's or any of those guys, but it's important to the story. So Home Depot's going to come in. So now this owner of this Ace Hardware is thinking, well, now we're done for, right? Like we're going to go out of business. Home Depot's going to take all our business. Everybody goes to the big box retailers, right? Their prices are lower. They have more variety of product, right? They're open longer hours. So he's thinking, I'm done for. So he does the opposite of what you think you should do. What I've seen time and time again when competition moves in is we go, oh, well, they're saying it's only 99 cents for this product, so we need to make it 99 cents for this product. Or, oh, they're advertising in newspapers. Well, we better advertise in newspapers too. Or people are going to not know we exist. Or, oh, they hire this type of person of this type of product. That's what we need to be marketing and selling. Well, he did the opposite. He said, I knew I couldn't compete on price, and I knew I couldn't compete on the number of things. And he couldn't compete on budget. So he said he lowered his ad budget by something like 70%. So all that newspaper advertising was doing before, he said, Home Depot can have it. But yeah, I want people when they're out looking for something. He said, so Home Depot can have that. So he lowers his ad budget and instead he advertises the things that are high end and meaningful in his community. So beginning of summer, he said, I started marketing those, the egg grill, those like super expensive, but people who have them absolutely love them, grills. So he starts marketing that. He's got this super knowledgeable staff. So he starts talking about, the people that work at Ace Hardware are Bob, who just remodeled his whole house from down the street, right? These super knowledgeable people. And oh, by the way, it's easy to get in and out of an Ace Hardware. So now he actually starts to leverage what people are frustrated with Home Depot. So yeah, they can go in, they can get a lot of product, they can get in and out. There's often a sale, but the experience is frustrating. There's never any parking, right? You got to go up and down the 500 aisles, right? The people there are good. Don't get me wrong, Home Depot. I think your people are good, but they're not going to be the same type of knowledge that this Ace Hardware has. He used his competition to set himself apart. Okay, big box retailer has this, this, and this. So I'm going to do this, this, and this. Guess what? His sales doubled when the Home Depot moved in. He thought he was going to go out of business, but instead his sales doubled because he used his competition to set himself apart. The big box retailers are all about this. We are going to be over here all about this. So here's what I want you to write in the chat bar. And if you're on LinkedIn or anywhere that we're streaming, write it there too, and I'll go back to it after. Here's what I want to ask you. Which of these three can you work on in your business? Can your business benefit from? Is it innovating as the category commoditizes, as the competition comes in? I want you to put this in the chat bar. Is it keeping what your customers love, but finding new channels or new hows to reach them, new whats, right? You've got the why, the core, the how and the what changes. Or is it number three, use your competition to set yourself apart in a meaningful way? I want to go back to that for a second, the Ace Hardware. Imagine for a moment if there's an ad that says like in and out in 10 minutes, you're doing a home project. You have forgotten one piece of equipment that you need, something tiny. Do you want to go to the big box and have to fight the traffic and the people and the lines? Or do you want to go in and out of your Ace Hardware store in 5 minutes? Use your competition to set yourself apart in a meaningful way. So Paul says, using competition to set myself apart in a meaningful way. So I think, I'm glad you said that one, Paul. Oftentimes I think the mistake or the challenge we have, particularly as competition moves in, is we think that we have to mimic them, be like them, one up them. The challenge is that just adds more noise, more clutter for people. I want you to think about, right, how do you kind of take your box over here and make it meaningful for your customers? Christine says the new what and the how. Yes. Love your why. Your customers love your why. Can you imagine for a moment if Baskin-Robbins came back and said, well, we're only doing 5 flavors of ice cream and frozen yogurt? People would be like, what? Like, I know there's a frozen yogurt craze, but that's not like, I like you for the ice cream. So know what your customers love about you. Find the new what and the how. Yes, Connie also says the hows and the what. Yeah, oftentimes. Now, here's the thing I just want to say. Here's what Baskin-Robbins did do. They created the toppings bar because things like Cold Stone Creamery and others came in and started doing those topping bars. So they kept up, but they also found new channels and paths to reach them. And here's the thing I'd say too about something like a Baskin-Robbins. We're going to use them as our example. Oftentimes, unlike Netflix, that had big players come in, big competition, HBO, Disney, like things that we know that we can see the competition. Oftentimes when it comes to competition, it's the little ones that are chipping away at the side. So I interviewed the head of marketing for Jeremiah's Italian Ice, right? A new franchise who's growing exponentially. Guarantee you that Italian Ice is chipping away at the big players like Baskin-Robbins, or, you know, the cupcake bars, or like all the little options that we have can be chipping away at you too. It doesn't have to be the big competitors that are moving you into a commoditized market. Pay attention to what's on the fringes as well. All right, let me see what else. I appreciate new partnerships and building the community, but understand your differentiations is critical as well. 100% agree with you. Mia says, number 3, we can't compete with bulk retail prices. Our sales grew when we focused on our delivery and personal service. A handwritten thank you note goes a long way. Yes, isn't that the truth? Handwritten anything goes a long way, doesn't it? I totally agree with you. Right, exactly. You can't compete on price, but you can be higher quality. You can have more unique flavors. You can have better service, and you can have a better relationship, which is what Ace Hardware did. All right, everybody. So the key here is to get that leader status, but then keep it, right? Keep innovating as the category commoditizes. Find the new what's and the hows, the way that you reach your customers, and actually use your competition to set yourself apart. I think we often fear competition or see it as a bad thing, but the reality is it can actually help us. It can help us prove our differentiation point and make it of value to the market in a very easy way by comparison. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Always a pleasure to see you on the 10-minute burst. And hey, if you have a topic that you want me to consider talking about, just shoot us an email and let me know. Our email's all over the place, or a note on LinkedIn, or kind of whatever works for you. We'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, since I won't see you for another week on our burst, go to the podcast. Go to It's with Tamara Gondor, me, pretty simple. You can find it on our website, go to Launch Street, or on any podcast player, and go listen to all the everyday innovators we have out there who are shaking it up. You'll get a lot of great advice from them on how to be an innovator in your work and life and how to drive innovation in everything you do. All right. Thank you so much. I will see you all next.